everybody. I want to welcome you guys to Just Our Thoughts, brought to you by Last Level Games. My name is Phil. This is Jason.
Hello.
That's Jason.
Hi.
And this is Var.
How's it going?
Very enthusiastic. I like that Var. All right, so this is kind of our podcast where we just talk about random things to do with video games, really anything we want to talk about. We think we want to flesh it out a little more, get a little discussion going. And so for this week, we are going to be talking about the price of video games. So for a while, we got stuck in this rut where a new game is $60, period. It didn't matter how long that game was, didn't matter how good it was, it didn't matter anything about it, really. It's just $60 and it came out, and that was kind of the price for it. You also then have your indies kind of consigned to $20 or less. Otherwise, everyone expects so much more, expects something so much different from them. So I just want to open it right off the rip. What do you guys think of this way we have of doing this system that a new game comes out and is $60, no matter basically what at this point? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I'll start, I guess. I think it's a real interesting topic only because and I know we'll get into this a little bit more in detail a little bit more, but there was a point where games had different ranges, like and we're talking AAA games, different ranges. Some were $40, some were $70. Back with the N64 cartridges and all those previous generations, where now they kind of have a standard number, right? Which is good, I guess. But I think my problem, one of my main problems with the price point is it doesn't, I don't like that there are games, like the majority of those AAA games are all categorized as $60 when like a game like Madden, a sports game, which is annualized, is, we talk about it all the time. It's an updated roster. Yeah, there's newer mechanics, right? There's, they try to, like this year they focused on the ways you can throw the ball, ways you can catch the ball, defense AI, which, I play a lot of Madden. I can see when they're doing things different that makes me change the way I play. But it really bothers me that it's $60. Like I fight myself on it all the time. And this year I didn't buy Madden 16. I think there was another reason, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Right.
Like with certain service-driven prices that I can see us going towards more with certain games and things like that. But I think the fact that it hasn't gone up or down is an indication that it's an okay price for everyone. People accept it at least. And the thing I fight myself with the most is if I make the argument that it should be cheaper because it's less of a game, or it's it meets less of the requirements of what I think is a $60 game, then games that exceed that $60 requirement should be more. Like that's the battle I fight. I think they should have tiers for like AAA games. Like they should categorize them certain ways. I don't know how. Maybe as we talk about it, I can think of it. But I think when I think of, like I said, like Madden's a good example. Even Call of Duty, like the fact that Call of Duty justifies what they do because different publishers make it. I mean, different developers make it, but it's under the same publisher. Bothers me because I know that they've worked on it for 3 years. I know that, or 2 years, but you're giving me the same stuff. Like, I stopped buying Call of Duties because of it. I did. I don't know. What do you think, Var?
Well, you kind of caught me hard when you said if they're more than we expect, they should cost more.
Right.
Because immediately I'm like, oh my god, I would have paid like $200 for Fallout.
Exactly. No, but that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Like exactly.
But when I think about the price of games as they are now, a part of me is terrified that this is just gaming markets doing what they can get away with. And I remember when,
You mean by staying at 60 or
staying at 60 and some of the things they do.
okay?
And well, I remember when we were transitioning last generation and everybody was worried about the price.
Yeah.
I remember this generation, everybody was worried about the price.
Yep.
And it seems like they found somewhere they could stay because I think there would be an uproar if they surpassed it.
Yeah.
And there have been multiple things that I've seen, and the main one that comes to mind where it seems to me like more than a price that reflects your product, it's can I get away with this? I really need to know if I can get away with this. Do you guys remember last generation when Turismo
Made
released the Prelude?
Yeah.
the demo.
Yes.
Oh, that was
The paid demo.
Yeah. People bought it.
Exactly.
You didn't. I didn't. Var, did you buy that?
I didn't buy it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't buy it because
It was a demo.
at the time there was a silly amount of games out.
Yeah.
When that came out, and
That
thing
was
is,
late in the console generation, but yeah.
No,
These normally are.
Turismo? No, I mean like,
the Prelude.
yeah.
Prelude was earlier on.
Oh, really?
And then they released.
I didn't think it was too far after that Turismo came out.
It was a bit of time after that.
Fair enough.
Not too long, but when it did come out, I was excited for it, and I was more or less hearing about people who were furious.
Yeah. Yep.
I was hearing about people who were, wait a minute, I bought this because it didn't feel like a finished product for a lot of people. And even when the final product came out, there was a ton of talk about, what do you mean not every car is going to have maxed out graphics?
Yeah.
Only certain models, like you're going to get old generation graphics next to new generation graphics. And it kind of seemed like a half-assed, like it felt like, could we get away with this?
Yeah.
Will
And
there
they
be enough
did.
backlash for them to not buy it?
Yeah.
And then my second example for the exact same thing is what Metal Gear Solid did not too long ago.
Oh, Ground Zeroes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it's really, wait a minute, we know we're going to put out a game that is enormous. How far can you think we get with one map?
Yeah.
Like, if we sold one map, a lot of things to do on that map. If we sold one map, do you think people would buy it?
Right.
And in my opinion, you saw a drastic drop not long afterwards in price.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I started seeing Ground Zeroes go on sale for like half the price it was originally
For
Yeah.
you.
in no time.
Yeah.
And it ended up
But-
free on both consoles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Closer
But-
to this.
That's what it's like. When you see a drastic price drop like that, doesn't a part of you go, so they couldn't get away with it?
Yeah.
They intended to do something. They wanted to test the waters, and they could not get away with it.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me about pricing.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that these are companies and they're in it for a profit and da 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 da. Understand it, but another part of me is, because it's like your example. So $60 gets me Madden, which you can pump out every year. You can tweak a little bit. You can change the rosters.
Same developer every time.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this in a year. The same $60 gives me that, or it can give me Fallout 4,
Yeah.
which I understand took them longer to make, but they're both telling you my product is worth $60.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you were not in a video game store, if you were just in a Walmart and those weren't listed as video games, and one listed all its features, and one said Fallout 4, I give you all this, the other one said Madden, I give you all this,
Yeah.
there would be no comparison. Like, you would wonder why one is either so cheap or why one costs so much if they're the same price.
Yeah. I mean, so I get that part of it. Obviously, we view games that have different values and whatnot. I think that when it comes to like Maddens and sports games, we get into like this different beast, this whole different like road. Because at what point do we just stop? At what point are they no longer $60 games? So kind of what Jason was alluding to, like you can get EA access now for $30 for a whole fucking year, and you're gonna get every single release of sports game.
Yeah.
And I get
At
that
some
they don't
point,
come out right.
yeah.
At some point, they don't come out day and date, right? Because obviously they're making their money off that stuff. But I'm fine with that, and that's kind of what I've kind of led myself to. But the $60 price point, I think, is very antiquated. It's something that came in because it was feel good, and I think honestly, I think the only way to change it is out of generation, right? So that's when they found that $60 price point was at the PS3 360 generation.
Yeah.
Previously, it was normally 50, with some games more, some games less. Then it went 60, then it stayed 60 for Wii U, Xbox One, and PS4. I only make the difference because Wii games were 50.
Yeah.
Which would come out at $50, whereas the other ones were more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we're at this point where, like, we talk about what would you pay for it? What could a company get away with? See, I honestly think companies like Bethesda, they must be handcuffed, because I think they could have put an $80 price tag on that game, and I think it still would have sold ridiculously well.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. We talk about the video game industry, and like it has this price point for AAA games, right? Can you think? I can't even think of another company or another industry that has such a wide range of possibilities that you get for a game that has the same price point. And I was thinking about this. So, in a way, you know, like Battlefront's coming out soon too, right? And in a way, they're trying to indicate to you that $60 is not the game value that you're gonna need to enjoy the entire experience. So you got the $60 and you get the season pass. It's $50, right? So it's $110. Did the math right? Yeah, $110 to enjoy the entire experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can make the argument though that that's how they dictate the game is. Like it's worth. I don't really agree with that, because don't put it out at $60. Put it out at $40 and then have the DLC. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird situation. Like games like The Order more recently that came out, very short game. It looked beautiful. The gameplay was pretty solid. It doesn't have a lot of options. It doesn't have a lot of. It's not. It's not long.
Not a lot of anything.
It doesn't have a multiplayer. $60, right?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't there more of a sense of elasticity with these price ranges? You know? Go ahead.
It would be telling though, wouldn't it?
It'd be more truthful.
But it'd
be more accurate. It'd be more accurate.
Like, essentially, you don't know until you play it.
Yeah,
but not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, we're past that. We're at the point where, like, we have reviews and Twitch streams to watch. And
no. Hear me out. Mm-hmm. You don't. Size is one thing. You have no idea.
Sorry.
I know. You have no idea how much you're gonna enjoy it, because you can watch somebody play something, but you have no idea how much you'll enjoy it until you're playing it. And if you tell somebody right off the bat, I'm not going for 60, I'm gonna go, let's say 45. Yeah. Are you trying to tell me I'm not gonna enjoy it as much? Or are you trying to tell me it's missing something? Or are you trying to tell me it's shorter than it should be?
I'm trying to say it's a different degree of a AAA game. It's a different. That's why I say like the tier thing is like I think is something that, and I don't know how the tier would look. You know what I mean? Like, do you have Witchers and Fallouts? Then you got like Uncharted's and Order, which I would argue that Uncharted is justified more at a $60 game than The Order is. But you know what I mean? Like, where does the line go? But maybe they have to meet certain standards. But it's not $60 worth. And again, like we talk about,
I agree with you completely.
We talk about price points dropping. It's like that one dropped quick.
But that's the thing. That's the aftermath.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, this is gonna be. You're gonna have to bear with me on this example. Bear with me. Patience will be needed.
That's you're asking me too much.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Online dating sites. You put a profile up.
Oh God.
That's got weird.
All right, you put a profile up.
Yep.
And you decide what you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean shit until the person meets you. But are you gonna go from that experience and say, well, they said this about me, I gotta change stuff? Or are you gonna just hope the next time it works out?
No, I think
I don't think they're gonna change their price I think they're going to keep it exactly the same because they're hoping there's going to be those individuals who sit back and say, "Oh yeah, it was $60 worth."
But I'm not
just judge it this way.
I'm not paying that online person $60 because they're guaranteeing me that they are what they say they're going to be or what they're.
No, that's my example. There's a standard of what you expect.
Yeah.
And they're like that's a whole marketing thing. The box art, the commercials, because half the commercials of what we see, like the complaint people had with Halo, half the shit we see in a commercial is irrelevant.
Yeah.
And it's just all promotion for what the feeling you want into the game.
Yeah.
And then people are going to buy the game and determine it for themselves.
But see, I think you're missing a big part of. There have been numerous times where I've either watched a demo, played a demo, watched Twitch, read reviews, and looked at a game and been like, you know, if they dropped that to $40, I'd buy that day one. Or if that was a $30 game, I would buy that day one. Where, like, I don't. So the reason I don't like your analogy to dating is because when these games come out, we know a shit ton about them. If it takes you to literally play the game, if you're gonna in that moment decide
nowadays
love it or not,
nowadays
we're way past that.
I don't think so.
No, we are.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You can watch it on Twitch.
There's no way we're not.
I know you can watch it on Twitch, but here's I still stick with this because it's happened to me personally. I've watched people play games. I've watched you play games, Jay, and sat down and thought to myself, nah, I couldn't do that. But it wasn't until the controller was in my hand, and it has happened. For the longest time, I had no interest in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
This was even when you were playing and I was watching you play, and I was just like, nah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And then you asked me to try it out.
But no, but that's the thing is, you won't ever buy that game, so it doesn't matter. So if you're already looking at an ad and being like, I don't like this game, it's not for me, you will never play it. It doesn't matter the price point at that point. So if you're not in the discussion, you're not the market for it.
Yeah, you didn't pay for it. Yeah.
Right. You have no part of it. Like, it sounds terrible, but you don't. Because you already don't like that game. It is not a game you would have ever picked up unless Jay already owned it and then you played it. What I'm talking about is like, so I watch a JRPG. Perfect example. Tales of Asteria, right? So it just came out. It's a Tales game. I've liked Tales games in the past, but they always kind of try to do something a little different. Even though the story's the exact same, but that's a whole different problem. So I watched it a bunch on Twitch, and I've watched it through some different channels, and I've already decided that is a $30 game to me. At a $30 price point, I will buy that game. Because one, it's a genre I know I'm going to like, and know I'm going to play it. But it is not one at $60 that I feel that I will get enough value out of that game at $60. So I make that choice to buy it at 30. So I think with the information we have and all this stuff, like, you can't hide shit about your game anymore. They tried to hide shit about the order. How'd that go for them? That blew up in their face.
Yeah.
It was such a poor job that the only thing anybody ever said for the first month was, damn, that game's short. Right?
That was pretty short.
Nothing else even fucking mattered. So I think in this day of information, like, I understand that some marketing stuff may look different or may feel different, whatnot. But the games get out there. The impressions of the game get out there. The what the game looked like gets out there. And so to assign yourself a value different than the $60, I think can be a smart move and boost your sales based on, hey, we're going to put this out at a $50 price point, or we're going to put this out at a $40 price point, because you get people who are on the fence into the game.
Yeah, because you get
but that goes the same with any sale.
No, no, because the biggest thing about new game releases is that initial sale will set you up for the entire, like, most of the time will set you up for your success. So they're missing that when they charge $60 and all this information's out there, because people aren't going to want to, they're not justifying paying that money for that price point. You know what I mean? And it's because that's the standard price point for a AAA game.
Right.
Now, it feels like, and I could be wrong, it feels like you get, and Steam has made me more aware of this, but you get games that are like freaking $9.99, $20.99, or pretty much go up to $60. Like, there is an in between, but it's not many unless they're on sale.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at all that wiggle room. Like, you know, why aren't we using that? Why aren't developers saying, you know? And I guess the argument is that, oh, then we're not gonna make more better quality games. But it's they're feeding us an illusion that we as consumers continue to buy into, that they need to be $60, or we're not gonna buy it, when we end up buying it anyways. Oftentimes, you know. And it's one of those things where I feel like the video game community doesn't use that, like that buying power, as much as they have the ability to, by saying, I don't want to pay $60 for this game because it's not a complete game.
Right.
Battlefield 4 was a perfect example of that. Battlefield Hardline was a perfect example of that. Like,
Well,
you cannot tell me that game is $60.
No.
And
but they voted. Gamers voted that one down. Like,
but there's still a good amount that bought it. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
and that's
true.
my problem with it, is like, and I bought it. I'm not gonna try to say I'm not a victim of this, but more and more I become aware of the fact that, like, sometimes I need to step back and say, like, Battlefront, I've been fighting, and you know, you'll hear it on our other podcasts and things like that, other episodes of Last Level Gamescast. Like, I really love Star Wars and I want to buy it, but the closer I get to it, I have Fallout 4 coming out. Like, I'm enjoying Halo. I there's a bunch of Steam games, like, you know, I'm playing now thanks to certain people. But and I'm saying to myself, like, I don't know if I'm ready to spend $60 on a game that I know is not the entire game that I want.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's the other part.
It's a struggle.
That's like, it's really. I think so many, like, aspects of how we view games now is a part of an intentional push for that impulse. Like, I understand that there are huge resources for individuals who want to find out about a game before they purchase it.
Yeah.
But how many times, I know I've done it too many times. How many times do we just ride the hype train?
Mm-hmm.
How many times do we just jump on? Okay, oh, I get this for pre-ordering it. Okay,
right.
Or I'm going solely off the base of its predecessor. I enjoyed that. Look at Fallout. I don't really know too much about Fallout 4.
But you can. If you wanted to, you could know a ton about Fallout 4 right now. A ton.
Yes.
They released their app already for your phone. So you could know everything you'd want to. It's your choice not to. And I don't think that's the common consumer.
No. But I'll complete my thought now. Even before this information's released, that release trailer, watching that, the hype train was already going. And it was strong. Just because some studios have that success.
Yeah.
Some studios can say, well, we did this, and this is the sequel.
Yeah, they're
you know it's gonna be good.
They're Pip-Boy pre-orders.
Can research stuff. I understand that completely. But a part of a lot of video game marketing is to just bypass that. Just to either look at a brand with Star Wars or look at a successful franchise and go, oh, you know it's gonna be good. And I know that's flawed thinking, but it's effective.
Well, the Pip-Boy edition is a good example of that. Like, the hype train, like, they keep selling out, and it's obviously bigger part of it is because it's so exclusive, people want it, and you know, that's another aspect of that. But I know what you're saying, but it is one of those things where I guess the differentiation for me versus what you're saying is that's a difference between me not buying it day one and versus me buying it like a couple weeks from then, because from when it comes out, you can definitely find out a shit ton about it before you spend your $60. My point is that, like, and Fallout's a bad example of this, but my point is the game comes out $60. I want to play it, but I watch other people play it and I don't think it's worth it, and it stays $60 for too long. You know what I mean? It shouldn't have been $60, but people bought it, and that they allowed the market to dictate that. You know what I mean? And I think more interesting thing is how, for me, is how much digital versus physical plays into this, because aside from Steam, I feel like that's another way that companies are kind of taking advantage of people, especially on the consoles. Only on the console, I would say, because I still am a console person at heart, but I see the value in Steam. Like I see the value in PC gaming and going on G2A and you know checking for alternative prices for games that are going to be $60 off the rip. But I just wonder how how Sony and Microsoft are allowed, or you know, that they do what they do with digital prices. You know what I mean? Because you know it's supposed to be cheaper, right? Some of the overhead is that you're paying for the physical disc, or you know, you're paying for the box art and shit like that. You know, which is why you pay a little bit more for a steel case in a limited edition. You know what I mean? Then why is it that your digital copy is the same price as your physical copy? Like, where's the value in me going, you know, more eco-friendly, where, you know, I have freaking People's Bank or some another, you know, bank that says, hey, you know, go paperless and we'll give you an incentive for it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's another thing that like is just not right, you know, and needs to change, but they're not going to change it because people still buy the games at $60 a pop, and even on digital, you know, it's a weird situation, honestly. Like, you know, Phil showed me the light with Steam, and I fought it for so long, and it's just like, now that I see the value, like, there's plenty of games that I say to myself, I'll just wait till it goes on sale on Steam, you know, I'll just wait, you know, I won't buy it for my console, you know, why did I even think like this was my only option? And I think that's a bigger thing, is that, you know, people that think that the convenience of a console is what they're paying for, but that shouldn't be the case. You know what I mean? Not for a game. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason you pay the same is because of GameStops and the likes. You know, GameStop, Target, and all those guys is why you still pay same price digital as you do a retail copy. Sounds weird, but someone has to sell you that console, right? And if I'm Target or if I'm whoever, I'm not going to sell your console if you can go online and buy the games for it. Like, right? That's where they make their money. They make their money off of accessories and attachments and that kind of stuff. So there's just no point to do it if digital, if it's that much cheaper. You know, there's no incentive for the stores to do it. The hope is that you go back to that store to buy the game. And then what's the point if it's all cheaper digital? Which is why it surprises me when like GameStop sells Steam cash cards and things like that. But I'm sure they get I would assume they get some part of that or get something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
they probably pay.
They're just trying to get you into the door.
They charge an initial fee to Steam to carry it, and then that's it.
Yeah, they have to have some kind of licensing deal where they get money from it, because it's not like you're not going there to buy your PC unless they start doing that. Oh, they're gonna sell some Steam machines. I'm sorry. So I'm sure they'll see some profit from that.
Yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. Like, even when there are opportunities for us to decide that certain games shouldn't be $60 and consumers don't buy into it, and it's generally because the product that they're all offering isn't as polished as the other one. Like, I remember way back, and Phil, I know you remember this, but ESPN or 2K made a football game.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I used to love ESPN NFL 2K when they shared the license and everything. But once EA got control of that, like, it was game over. And you talk about monopolies, like, that's kind of one, right? They have a partnership with the NFL, and nobody else can make a game. You know, MLB is the same way with the show. You know.
Well, sort of.
Sort of, right? Is it sort of?
Well, their contract is different. Their contract is for first party exclusive.
Okay.
Whereas NFL is anything. I'm pretty sure we now have to pay the NFL. We said their name like 4 times, so.
Oh no.
Yeah, we owe them. We
I,
gotta send them like $5
I
or
said the BFL, the MFL,
Those guys.
the
Remember,
American,
it's
not
so sad to
American, the
think about
American.
it too. Remember that after they basically just made a monopoly of out of Madden. Remember
Damn it,
what was
that's
it?
another one.
Was it pro? What, All Pro?
Yeah, that was made by 2K. It
Yeah, but remember how that game was?
was fine for me. I bought that year. Is that bad? I bought that year. I bought it and I created my own team, and I'm telling you, because it was the same. The only bad, well, one of the bad parts about it was it wasn't that different from the last NFL 2K game that came out, and that was like 3 years before that. Like the engine looked the same to me.
Yeah,
Like I was just like,
that's why I was saying that.
oh, but I still had fun with it.
But
I
that
still-
that was the problem of it. It was based off a premise instead of updatable rosters.
yeah,
Like you were playing with all stars, and because they have that monopoly on it, it's just like, well, what are you gonna get next year? Oh, they're not making a game next year.
yeah, more all stars.
Yeah, they're not making a game next year. You're if you want a new football game, you're going back to Madden.
Yeah.
So what we kind of touched on it with sports games. What games do you think can be made into a platform with like a yearly buy-in to the platform instead of a $60 new release?
Hmm. Sports games? No, I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, right. That's
yeah.
the most obvious one.
Yeah, anything that's relatively annualized. I think it's atrocious that Ubisoft's getting away with Assassin's Creed, because I've played them, and I'm gonna tell you now, I paid $60 for Assassin's Creed 2, 1, and that was it. The other ones I waited for, and even then those were shit. Like
Yeah.
but people buy them at $60, and that's a top selling game for Ubisoft.
Yep.
And you see it, like they come out buggy, they come out like they've completely changed like what, like the story of like what they just trashed the game. Just like, you know what, people are buying this.
Didn't one crash at an E3?
I don't remember.
Maybe.
I think
Wouldn't
it was a
surprise
few
me.
years back that they were trying to show it off at a Sony conference, and the game just stopped.
Yeah, it's
And
just
they just kind of moved the show along, and that's
it bothers me that, you know, because it's basically the same engine except for the ones that were like for next gen and stuff like that. Like Black Flag, I think, was the one that was in betweener of PS4, PS3, you know, current gen and last gen. But like games like that, you can make the argument for Call of Duty. The only thing with that is, you know, it's a different developer that makes each one every year. So they've been working on it for 2 years instead of one, essentially. Because originally there was for a while there was 3 studios, wasn't there?
Isn't it still?
No, is it? Or maybe now it's 3. Because yeah, there was
I thought it was 2.
it was Infinity Ward and Treyarch.
Yep.
And then Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer. Who? Because there's no more
I can just
Infinity
look it
Ward.
up.
There's
Yeah,
no more
there is.
Infinity Ward. Is there? I don't think there is anymore.
Yeah, they're just not them.
Well, that's what I mean. Like they don't make. I don't think they make those Call of Duties. They got absorbed, right?
No.
I don't remember.
Speaking of Call of Duties, there's something that just came to mind that bothers me, and I don't know how you guys feel about
Yeah,
it. 'Cause
it's Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer. Infinity Ward's still Infinity Ward. They just those people
You know
left
what?
and-
Yeah, the guys
most
left.
people.
Still
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What do you guys think about the different, like when games release with different editions? And this is basically pointed at Call of Duty.
What do you mean?
Like Hardened Edition, Prestige
Yes.
Edition.
I know Halo's done it a few times, but same game. Maybe a different like deal, like a little add-on first day, but it's the same game, a little like trinket or something, and the prices vary.
Well, you're paying for those exclusive things. The problem is when they're not exclusive. That's the problem. So there's games that say, "Oh, you're gonna get this first." Like I should only be getting that, in my opinion. I'm giving you an extra
Right.
$15, and you're gonna eventually release this to people.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't work for me. When
Well,
they're
the
exclusive to people who buy that, because
the
that's what you're paying for is exclusivity,
Right.
right, or
but the problem I
uniqueness.
had, even with the exclusivity,
Yeah.
is sometimes I don't think like the prices accurately reflect those things at all.
Well, can you give me an example of one?
All right, I'm trying. I remember there was a Halo where there was about a like $100 edition,
Yeah.
and you got a flaming skull,
Yeah.
like a helmet that was that had a flaming skull on it.
And that was it.
There was other stuff with it.
There were trinkets, like they're trinkets,
Well, I
like
mean, it's all like, it compiles. So let's say that thing's $20 worth, $25.
Right.
The trinkets could be worth 10, $15. No, that's a relative. Like that's up to. I know what you're saying though. I know what you're saying.
yeah.
Like it's one of those things where people. It's confusing to you why people would do that, and I agree for the most part because I say to myself like, it's nice to have, but I'm buying a video game for the video game. So for me, like, and for other people it's different because they enjoy the brand that is Call of Duty. So they want the Call of Duty dog tag and the Call of Duty backpack and the aerial drone that's, Call of Duty, which makes it like $150 by the way. But, it's like, I'm not going to Call of Duty for that. I'm going to play a game, to enjoy it. The problem I have is, like I said, it's when it's timed exclusive I'm paying for, then don't charge me for that shit. Don't charge me as much as you are for that,
Well, that's normally what they lead in with the pre-orders.
Yeah.
Right.
They try to push that on pre-orders, like, oh, this is exclusive.
And everyone has their own version of a pre-order now.
Right.
Like that's not. I mean, I get it, but like, come on,
They're trying to add value to the game. They're trying to.
It's for the retailers, right? Like when
Right.
you know what I mean. Like so, Target has their own pre-order setup. GameStop has their own pre-order setup. They're just trying to give everybody their own way of getting people to buy the game from them, right?
Sort of, because the pre-orders, there's more cooperation between the place giving it and the company itself.
Yeah.
So it's more of just an incentive to pre-order the game, right? Because if you remember, there still are games you pre-order, there is no benefit for. So it's really just trying to be that last, like, in my mind, value push.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, and then you guys all hate season passes, I'm assuming.
I'm not a fan.
I don't like pre-ordering one, but I think a season pass after a game's out is a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's say Battlefront comes out, right? Well, Battlefront comes out, you buy it, you decide you really love it, you can save money with the season pass, right? So why not?
That's the idea, yeah.
I understand that maybe the DLC won't be up to par, but you're banking on the fact that it is. I think it makes sense. I think pre-ordering one is not a good idea, but.
So what do you guys think the alternative is for the price point? Do you think there is one? I mean, could you make the argument that piracy's keeping this at $60? Because I don't think piracy has anything to do with, as much as like developers may say that that's why they keep it at $60. It's the same argument like movie theaters made with piracy and upping their prices. I think it was more so because there was such a transition between another means of watching movies and the internet. The cost of those movies those movie theaters just became so absurd that they had to keep upping the price. It had nothing to do with piracy as much.
Under those situations, it always seemed kind of it always bothered me that there's this notion of piracy, and then it seems everywhere they want to tell you how much they've made, which I think drives piracy more than anything else.
Whether they've made so much money.
Yeah, like there's a notion that you can't do this because you know you'll be stealing it and it'll be spread amongst whoever. Da 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 da. And they counter that with, oh, we've already sold 400 million in copies for this game. What part of that doesn't make somebody who wants to steal your game want to steal it more?
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah, I can see that. Why are you
If I'm
smirking?
about making something free,
That blows my mind.
what?
So the notion of theft is based on how much money a company has made.
Well, that they have enough that they don't need
Well,
my money, and
not only that the how much the company made, but I think a I can understand that logic of I didn't well obviously somebody who doesn't want to pay for it and somebody who feels that it's not hurting you as much as you're claiming.
See, no, that's a justification after the fact. That's the reason the person feels okay with what they did. If you're going to steal a game and that is who you are, then you are going to do it. Because that's just who you are. That's just how you are. Now, you justify it to yourself that, well, they made plenty of money and it's okay, it doesn't hurt them. But you're not, it's normally never, that's like cart before the horse. It's normally never like, well, they made a ton of money, so I was going to give them $60, but now I'm not.
In fairness,
Yeah.
I don't pirate games, so I'm speaking
Yeah.
hypothetically. Like I just like I see that as the logic because I imagine somebody who doesn't want to pay for something is waiting for you to tell them, I've made so much money off the people who paid for this. And then it's like, okay, well, you won't be making money off of me. But I can understand where you're coming from, where it's somebody like they're looking for that justification because they were going to do it either way.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm the exception to the rule or the rule itself, but I can kind of see what he means when it I used to download music illegally because I didn't want to pay for them, doing that. I don't want to give artists my money. Now I support, who I think I need to support, but I don't download any more music like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if I'm an exception to the rule or the rule itself, but I know what you're saying. I can see both sides of it. Where if somebody's gonna pirate a game, they're gonna do it anyways. But I can also see that people might do it because they're like, oh, they don't need my money. You know what I mean? That is a stupid notion in itself. But
I get you.
Yeah.
I don't. This is gonna sound really bad, but personally, I wouldn't pirate a game because Steam exists, and eventually, a lot of things are gonna become stupid cheap. And the other side of that is, I want there to be sequels. If I love something, I badly want there to be sequels, and just like a lot, it's I hear it more with music references, but it's just like, oh, you're supporting the artist. Well, it goes the same way for games. Like, as much as the bottom line may not be your consideration when purchasing a game, it does affect the longevity of a franchise, what that studio is going to be doing, and in worst case scenario, if these people are going to lose their jobs. So if I do if I enjoy a game, or if I believe I'm going to enjoy a game, yeah, that's a better reason to buy it. But at the same time, it's the way the market is. As much as I don't like the $60 cap or suggested price it is right now, it seems to be something where that affects the impatient more than anyone. Like, if you want to get it immediately, that's your world. That's what it's going to be. If you want to wait, it depends on how long you want to wait. And it also depends on, because obviously you don't want to wait for a multiplayer game and your friends aren't playing it anymore. That kind of defeats the purpose. But if you're looking at an RPG that you're iffy about, the content's not going to go away over time. If anything, you may get in a situation where they've made multiple DLCs for the game, and by the time you buy it, like I was late to getting Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Ended up getting the Game of the Year edition. Ended up getting the Game of the Year edition for less than $60. That's a ton of content. A ton of content after the fact for less than the originally suggested price, and avoiding the whole I bought the game for full price and now I have to buy the DLC for full price. Avoiding all that, it's a pretty good setup.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think a lot of those are outliers, and I think when we talk about a $60 price point, and then you mentioned games like that or like Fallout and that kind of thing, we all of us would price those out of $60 and actually make them more than $60.
Yeah.
What I more see as a $60 price point and problem with is deluge of just shitty games that come out that could all be $30, $40, and then other games that admittedly don't have as long a development time and don't have big deals. I think any sports game that it's a first on that new system could be a $40 game easily instead of a $60 game, as we saw with NHL 15, and just no support, no modes, no anything, because they switched to a new engine for the new system, and it sucked. But yeah, any of those games where it would be a bigger deal after the fact, I think all of us would agree should be an $80, $90 game to begin with.
I just trying to find the right word for it, but I still have that fear that it's something that'll be exploited. Like if you tweak the because I think it's been exploited now, and I fear that if there were any way to further it, like they do with throwing trinkets into a Call of Duty and giving you it for like $25 more, they'll exploit it more.
But that's your choice to buy it or not.
I get you.
And then on top of it, that's a different edition, so you can still buy a cheaper edition. And those are things where like you might not give a shit, but person X, Y, or Z does, and then they have that option to do it. But when you're talking about a base game of a sole price, without the extra editions and whatnot, I think that a more fluid price point would be way better, even if it meant I had to pay more for a Fallout or for a larger game or a bigger, like Witcher 3, like fucking 80, $90. And you get into that part of paying more for more content and bigger games, I would be completely okay with, as long as it swung the other way.
So this may be a poorly worded question, but a game like The Order, where it's beautiful but short, how much would you take? How much less than $60 would you look at something like that?
So to me, a game like that should have came out at like a $40 price point, to capture more of the market, and especially because of the press it already had, it would have came out and it would have been like, hey, we know it's a little short, it's shorter than expected. We're gonna make the price point $40.
So with that being said, because it's being compared to other games saying it's shorter, if you were to make that a $40 standard,
Mm-hmm.
would you be fine with just seeing that become a genre, where intentionally shorter games for less price
Well,
become
there
a
already
genre?
are. They're called indies.
I don't, but I don't mean from smaller studios. I mean studios that make the AAA titles we're used to, just aiming lower now.
I don't. What do you mean by like they make shorter games or less quality games?
Either, well, I shouldn't say either or, but so shorter.
Yeah, if they want to make shorter games, like they're already doing it through episodic games. So like Until Dawn could have done it, they could have piecemealed their story up and sent it out as $15 price points the way Telltale does. Yeah, I 100% think they could do something like that.
I didn't mean installments.
Yes, but essentially that's what you're making the game. So the order, the entire basis of the order was that there was supposed to be the order 2 and the order
Yeah,
3 and the
start
order
a
4, right?
franchise.
So you drop it to $40 and that would be what it is. That's what you're turning it into. Um, so yeah, you could 100% do something like that. There's no reason you couldn't. Because it sounds like your issue with it is that you think the rest of the games are just forgotten about. Like it's almost like, well, if they do this, they're not going to make this anymore.
No,
If
no,
company A
no,
does this, then I would love to have more
no.
options. I
Like
always want
my
more options.
my issue over it all is that I love the fact that I'm getting something like Elder Scrolls or Fallout or Metal Gear. I love that these games are what they are. I love that. But
So they wouldn't stop being that.
that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of more than anything else. Like I'm afraid that those games are what they are because they're not sports games. Because they in no regard can they tell you, well, next year you'll be picking up this one, and the year after that you'll be picking up this one, because they know they don't have that. They take more time for development. So in that time for development, they give you more. So that's what my fear is, that if you had this, if you broke the price wall as it is, you wouldn't have that effort from them.
Why?
Well, that's some fears aren't as
No, because then they could sell it for 80 or 90, and it might even be better for them. It might even make companies want to put more into their games because they figure, well, fuck it, if I could sell more up front and not worry about the legs of it, maybe it'll do better.
but I think it would just take a failure or two for one of those very large games that gives you so much content to have a bad release.
Yeah, but if they fail now at $60, they're still fucked. They're
But
still
now they're
fucked.
$60. Now there is that level playing field where you can compare value to games that we agree don't have $60 value but are $60. You can make the argument that they're giving you more than the average game is. But if you didn't do that and you made it initially more and you didn't have that comparison, all you had was other games that are giving you absurd amounts of content, and you had to compare with them, only them. I think a, I think a lot of it will go out the window. I think a lot of it would just be shot to hell because essentially the games we are talking about paying more for are tried and tested franchises who know what they're doing. And it'd be nice to see others go that direction, but I don't think it could pull it off successfully.
Well, they weren't always tried and
I
tested, and they were at $60. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think you'd see if there wasn't games like Two Worlds, which tried to go that avenue, or Kingdoms of Amalur that tried to go that avenue, and for whatever reason they didn't get the recognition or the positive reviews or fan appreciation that they were aiming for, and they're just gone.
Yeah. Well, we don't know.
And I think it would be even worse if they were put on a higher, costlier pedestal.
But why would they be costlier?
Because you're rating them on how much content they give you.
Yeah,
and those games
But
do
the
have
games should be rated on their content no matter if they tell you it's a $60 game or not. It's like I said before. If I see a game, because I'm not going to not research it. That's just not going to happen. I research everything now. That's the world we're in. So if I think a game is $40, I'm going to wait till it's $40. The only thing that happens by it not being $40 at launch is that I might forget the game fucking exists.
Yeah.
and then I just never buy it and they never get any of my money. So if Fallout 4 is amazing and we know it's going to be amazing or think it is, right? And they say it's $80, I'm going to pay them $80 for that right off the rip. That's not even a question. But if someone wants to bring in a new IP, nobody tells them it has to be $80. It could be $40. And they could be like, you know what? We want to get this in as many hands as possible because when we release the second one, it's going to be $70.
And you don't think there would be backlash for that?
Why would there be?
Because you made something wonderful for $40. Why do I want to pay more for it now?
So maybe it's bigger and better. It has more content.
You're not going to sell them the same game for $40.
Yeah, because that's the problem we're running into, is that they're selling the same game for the same price every time.
Every year. Over and over. Look at how many fucking Lego games come out.
I can't speak to their quality.
Well, but it's the same.
No, they're good.
Yeah,
but it's the same fucking game.
Some of them are bigger. Some of them are bigger, but you know
can't change Legos too much.
It's essentially but you can change the engine, how they look, and all the content. But it's essentially the same thing because it's so frequent. I mean, they had 3 or 4 this year. They had the Dimensions one. They had Jurassic World. They had, I think, another Batman. Or Lego Movie came out, I think, last year. But it's essentially the same argument. Is that there's got to be a better way to do it than charge for $60, and the problem is that people just accept it. You know, the majority of people didn't pay $60 for these games initially off the rip just to have it and say that they have it. It's similar to like an iPhone and stuff like that.
Yep.
Then the market wouldn't be able to dictate that price point.
Yep.
Problem is they do it. And it's the same thing with season passes and things like that. You're paying, and you know, as a developer, I'm sure they can say, well, our game really isn't $60, which is why the season pass is $50, which is why you're getting all this content. But I'm sorry, like I don't buy that argument because they fooled us so many times with it. Like you can't sit here and tell me that this game's actually really worth $70 or $130, $120 with the season pass. That's actually what it's worth. That's why you're paying for that. When I'm playing it and I see that you're only giving me 2 extra maps, I see that I'm only getting 3 guns, I see that I'm not getting like Batman. Batman's a perfect example that I will give it to them that they're dumping a lot of content into that game now. I paid for the season pass, but that initial DLC that I got for Batgirl and the DLC right after, I forget what it was. I think it was Red Hood. That actually was a GameStop exclusive. I think the Red Hood DLC.
Levels,
yeah, and I had to go back and get it, by the way, because they didn't give it to me. But I played the DLC and I'm just like, you know, I'm worried that they're giving me shit and I paid for the season pass. Now they're at the point now, because a lot of people agree with my thought, that they announced everything that they're releasing between November and December, which is good, but why couldn't you do that from the beginning so that way I see what I'm getting myself into? That's the problem with it, is like they, you know, these DLCs are just so ambiguous and like, you know, something you're gonna get something, but you want my $30 now, but you're gonna get something, you know, and justification for $60 and $30 on top of that is it's not there, but we allow them to say that it is, you know, and that's the bigger problem is, you know, it won't change unless we want it to change, and we apparently don't want it to change, you know. You know, that's the struggle.
Yeah, I think that wraps up pretty nicely. We just don't want it to change. We're stuck in this loop, and it won't. One, I think it has to be a console cycle. It has to be the norm from the beginning of a console cycle. And 2, we as consumers have to demand it. We have to, if that's what we want, that's how we have to start voting with our wallets and start going after things. Do not pre-order a standard edition of a game. It will fucking be there when you get to the store. So those kinds of things where if we want to, as consumers, to make any sort of change, we have to do that for ourselves. Anyone have anything last minute to add?
No.
All right. Oh, Bar?
I'm just upset. I'm just like, I all right. You, damn it. I'm just upset. I'm just really, really upset because I think like I hear what Jay's saying. And I'm thinking the same thing though. I'm thinking like if they can take advantage of any system that's out there. I feel like the only reason
That's anything though.
we accept things as they are is because they could be so much worse. They could be so much. Phil, bear with me, but I think it's the same thing with movies. Like there are people who want to see it the night of, and are always going to pay that money. And there are people who are going to see it matinee, and there are people who are going to wait till cable. That's essentially what the gaming market is now. You have your day of or first few months, and you have down the road where the value is gone. But it seems like people are so excited. Like I understand your message about research, but it seems to me like people like it's new. I got to go get it.
It has to do with feeling relevant. Like it has to do with feeling like you belong. Part of like, oh, you get that? Yeah, I got it. Like, and it's silly, but it doesn't just happen in games. My problem with it is that there are, actually, I shouldn't even say that. We have so much ability as consumers to control like this aspect of it, but we don't do it. You know, we keep going in circles with it, but we just don't do it. You know, I think Phil opening my eyes up to Steam and you know all these other websites has allowed me to be like, you know what, I'm not buying that game, you know, because I see the value in it. I'm worried that I'm so far behind it's gonna change like tomorrow and then be like, I gotta pay $75 for everything. You know, I feel like that always happens to me. So, you know, sorry guys if I ruined Steam for everyone.
It was so good.
Yeah,
it was so good.
I know. That's what I do. I just ruin things.
All right, guys. That was another episode of Just Our Thoughts. If you like what you see, come back. We're going to be doing one every single week. We also have another podcast, our Last Level Games, where we talk more relevant news, more things that are happening in the now. And that's it. Thank you guys for listening.
Bye.